everyone, so I'm here to make a batch of my poppies and peaches. I've worked with it mostly in wax and bath bombs, but I'm going to make some soap with it today. So I have my kaolin clay in here already, and so I'm going to add in my coconut milk. I have a new batch finally, and it's still very thick, so I don't know if it's just because it has gotten cold at some point in its journey, because it's not cold in my room currently. In fact, it's quite toasty up here today, but it's still very, very thick. When I was first getting it, was it last summer or the summer before, it was always a liquid, so I don't know, but it does the same thing in the end. It's all good. All right, let's call that good. So let's give this a good blend up. Adding in the lye solution. Tapping the air bubbles out of the shaft. Blend it till it's emulsified, and then I will split it out for the colors. It's looking pretty good. I was thinking about adding my fragrance oil in separate, but I'm just going to go ahead and add it in. So I gotta tap those bubbles out again. Alright, this one's a little oily because I had measured out some of my oils into it, but it is all part of the batch and mostly wiped clean. I'm going to do 2 peachy type poppy colors. Alright, so this one is a bit of a reddish orange. I will probably give that a bit of a blend here in a moment to intensify the colors, because I'm using a pigment as part of it. I just kind of wanted a reddish orange poppy color, and then more of a pinkish peach. I'm going to just start with a little bit of this and see what it turns. I may use some of the other. Okay, I'm gonna add just a bit more to this one, but that's a nice, pretty, peachy color. Maybe more coral. Alright, so they're fairly similar. I'm gonna intensify this one a bit. I just put in the wrong one. Oh golly. Oh golly geez. We'll just roll with it. It is okay with me if they're fairly similar because I don't tend to care for super duper bright in your face colors. I do them quite often, but they're not. My goal tends to be a little bit more muted in the long run. Whether I accomplish that or not, I don't know. Probably not. Okay, a little titanium dioxide in this one. It's might foamy. I've heard that this fragrance tends to go a bit cream colored. So I want to bring that up just a bit to a little brighter white cream color. There we go with the air bubbles. The color here is quite tannish. Not sure why we're going that route. I'm going to, I think because there's so much air in this titanium dioxide. I don't like to incorporate those air bubbles, but I needed to give that a quick shot of blend. We're just gonna have to roll with that one being a little bit more tan. I think it'll work out in the long run. Ah yes, that's quite beautiful. Okay, so then this one I needed to give also. It's getting thick, so I'm going ahead with the air bubbles, but that's not an ideal situation. Go ahead and do a little scrapey, though I am in a bit of a race against time here, I do believe. We're doing mostly okay. Now the purpose of tapping out that stick blenders, I don't know if you can see it, but I have air bubbles popping all over in here. And it got a little, it decided it was gonna hold air since I worked with the titanium dioxide. I was smacking it, and I'll probably cut out most of it, but there's a lot of air bubbles incorporated, and in the long run, that's gonna create those little bubbles when you cut your soap. So it's ideal to knock those out of the way. I'm going to start with the darker. Just going to get a little base in there. getting quite thick. This is still quite nice, so definitely the extra blending. Save a little bit for the top. Looks like this one is a little bit lacking. So what I may do is just go ahead and add in some additional layers here on this one. It's getting pretty close now. So let me think this through for just a moment. Hanger tool to give it just a little bit of a swirl in there. I'm just going down and up and down and up. Alright, we're just gonna go with that. So just gonna give it a little bit of a drizzle here on the top. This one is a little bit shorter, so I'll give it just a smidgen extra, I guess. These colors are so pretty. So I'm thinking if I'm going to be doing this 3-loaf situation, I'm gonna have to ask my dear husband to build me another couple molds so that I can make 2 batches at a time at the very least. I'm just loving working in the single molds because I tend to like the looks of a design made in a single loaf mold. Now I had him build them at 18 inches and let me tell you why. Because the freezer paper that I use is 18 inches wide. So I just thought that would be a delightful situation. So I just get out my quilting ruler and the scissors and just stretch it out on this table here. And then I just get her cut up. I can do a whole bunch at once. It's really easy to work with that way. He does not care to necessarily work with wood. That's not, I mean, he'll do it. He'll do anything that is required for our household and livelihood, but he's not a woodworker by heart. That's just not his love. So he will do it because he has the ability to do it, because he's a smart, clever country boy like that. With all the tools. He's one of those guys that fixes his own vehicles. Something needs done, he just assume do it, then call anyone. So he's just that type of a guy. First of all, I think I'm just gonna get it evened out a bit here. I had a general plan, but I'm not sure if I know what that is at this point, because I wasn't expecting it to be this thick when all was said and done. So I'm just going to go back and forth and make just a little zigzaggy top is all. It's real subtle. I think I like that just as much as anything right now. And because this is a poppied soap, well, this is not even, this is not panning out for me. Come on now. I'm just going to do a little offset poppy line here. And I think this is going to be delightful with the swirl inside. I think just a spritz of gold and regular biodegradable glitter is in order. Just a smidge. Just a smidge, but oh my word. Sometimes my husband's afraid to take me out in public because I am just covered in glitter. A good lot of the time. Okay, glitter aside, we are done. Alright, I'll see you back here for the cut. Alright, so I'm back to cut the Poppies and Peaches soap. It's been a couple of days at this point. I find that I like to allow my soap to sit in the mold for about a day before I unmold it, and then anytime after that I can cut. Like, I've cut one loaf already, but if I wait a little extra, I'm usually happier. It turned out super pretty. The outside color is a little bit more intense. I'll have to see if that fades a bit. I notice, like here, it's a little stronger. That's part of the orange portion. So you can see how much different, you know, the orange is to what's actually inside. Sometimes that's just the initial exposure to the air. I don't expect the inside to change a whole lot. So there's actually quite a bit of white inside, which you wouldn't really expect from seeing the loaf itself. That is so pretty. It's a very subtle change inside from the lighter peach color to more of the reddish orange that I did. It smells great. Love every bit of this soap. I love the color, I love the swirls, I love the poppy seeds on the top. It turned out just super duper. That one's really nice. That thicker hanger tool really works well for swirling, and that was the other reason why I had my molds set for 18 inches, is because I was able to purchase a hanger tool that fit just right inside of it. So those are just some of the things I'd work for when I'm planning out a new mold. I get asked this a lot, what size my mold is. I don't want to be rude, but I guess whenever you say you don't want to be something, you end up being that way. I don't want this to come across as rude, because I don't intend it that way at all. But the mold that I use for me really has no reflection on what anybody else is going to use. You need to figure out what size of a batch you want, what size you want your bars to be, and then plan out your own if you're going to build it. So I've been pretty open at my mold sizes. I mean, they are just molds after all, and they're pretty standard. These are tall and skinny soap bars, 2.5 inches wide by, I do mine about 3.25 to 3.5. It's a pretty standard soap bar. As far as the height of the mold, if you want 4-inch bars, then maybe you want a mold that's 5 inches tall or 4.5 inches tall. So we usually just work with what size the wood is so that it works out really nice. Now my new molds are a little bit, I might have to get one and show you. So they're a little bit, the bottom is raised up because they were very tall for me, and so it was easier to work in the mold if I brought the base up just a little bit. So that's another pretty one. Let me go grab a mold. So they do get pretty greased up, that's to be expected, but you can see this mold, how it's indented inside, so that was to help bring the mold up. So I'll still have to clean this mold out before my next batch. But I just told my husband what I wanted, and then we work on to figure out how much you want in the mold. You do your length, your width, times your height, times 0.40, and that's going to give you pretty close to the volume that you want for your mold size. So since I'm still yammering on, I'm going to just cut this one as I yammer, and I am starting to get a little bit of ash on the top. Anyway, so on the mold sizes, that's all you do, and then you can figure out what batch you want, batch size, and it'll vary just a little bit by how much water you're using in your batch. Now, another point I wanted to touch on was that I have a lot of information in the description box. I get the same questions all the time, and I do my best to patiently answer them. I've taken the time and the effort to put a lot of information out there for you, so I would appreciate if you would check that out. And so you can see if I have already answered your question, and if not, then carry on with your question. But that is a good place to look first to see if I have answered the question already, like my containers. Where do I get my containers? That's all there. So finally, what I just wanted to mention is sometimes I've already answered the questions in the actual comment section. If you kind of scroll through, I don't have so many comments that it's going to take a long time to scroll through that. It's certainly going to take you less time than asking the question and waiting for me to respond and me taking my time to answer a question I've already answered, etc. Again, I don't want to come across as that I don't want to answer your questions, but the point is just that it does get repetitive when I have done so many times already. So, look through the comments. I can give you for an example. I don't know how many times I've answered what colors I used in my Holly Jolly soap. One of my, I think it was one of the older ones, maybe not last year, but the year before. But the question just keeps getting asked over and over and over within the exact same video. And so while you're there getting ready to ask your question in the comment section, maybe you can go ahead and read through some of the comments to see if I've already answered the question. So anyway, that's what I had to say. Here we have 2 loaves of the Poppies and Peaches, and I have 1 more loaf off to the side. So a pretty decent sized batch. I should have enough to last me a little bit. I'm trying to increase my batches. Again, I kind of slowed down, and that was reflective of my sales. I mean, that's just the way it is. My slow sales mean I have to slow down on my batch sizes so that I can make more and do more than have so much tied up in one batch. But now things have picked up again, so my batch sizes are increasing. Alright guys, I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover, probably more than I should have, but I will talk to you guys later.